They didn't expect this part. They expected silence to feel lighter. They expected distance to bring relief. They expected your absence to slowly fade into background noise. But instead, it grew louder. At first, it was small, an empty pause where your name used to live. Then it became unfamiliar, moments that should have felt normal but didn't. And now, it's panic. Because missing you wasn't part of the plan. They told themselves they were strong enough to walk away. They convinced themselves they'd move on faster than you. They believed that choosing distance meant choosing peace. But here's the truth no one warns them about. Some connections don't scream when they break. They whisper and echo and haunt. And when your presence is no longer available, the mind starts replaying what the heart ignored. If you felt a sudden pull, if your intuition has been restless, if your silence feels heavier than words ever did, this is the moment they didn't prepare for, and this story is already unfolding. 1. The confidence before the fall. When they left, they were certain, not because they had clarity, but because certainty is often borrowed from ego, fear, or temporary emotional numbness. They told themselves they were doing the right thing, that walking away meant growth, that detachment meant strength, and in those early days it almost worked. They felt powerful, in control, untouched. They told friends they were fine. They distracted themselves with noise, routines, replacements. And maybe they even believed it. But confidence built on avoidance has an expiration date. Because what they didn't realize was this. You weren't just a presence in their life. You were a regulating force. Your energy grounded them. Your attention softened their chaos. Your consistency created emotional safety, even when they never admitted it. When you disappeared, their nervous system didn't celebrate. It panicked. At first, the mind tries to rationalize the loss. It was necessary. It would have ended anyway. I'll be better off. But the body remembers what the mind denies. That's when restlessness begins. Sleep feels lighter, joy feels thinner, distractions stop distracting. And the smallest things start triggering you. A song they never cared about, a place they avoided thinking about, a random moment where nothing feels wrong, but nothing feels right either. This is the beginning of the fall. Not dramatic, not obvious, but deeply unsettling, because missing you wasn't supposed to happen. And yet, it is. When silence starts speaking, silence is deceptive. At first, it feels like relief. No conversations to navigate, no emotions to manage, no expectations. But silence has a way of revealing what noise was hiding. When you stopped reaching out, something shifted, not externally but internally. They expected you to react, to explain, to chase clarity. And when you didn't, their mind filled the gap. Silence forces introspection, and introspection is dangerous for someone who left without emotional closure. That's when the questions start creeping in. Did I misjudge them? Why does their absence feel heavier than their presence ever did? Why do I keep thinking about them now? And here's the psychological twist. Your silence restored your value. Not because silence is a tactic, but because absence removes emotional accessibility. They no longer have access to your warmth, reassurance, or emotional labor. And suddenly, what once felt guaranteed now feels lost. That's when memory rewrites itself. They stop remembering the flaws. They start remembering the feeling, your laugh, your calm during their storms, the way you understood them without explanation. And the realization hits quietly but sharply. You weren't replaceable. You were rare. 3. The panic phase. Panic doesn't arrive screaming. It arrives pretending to be curiosity. They check your name, your activity, your energy, not to reconnect, at least not yet, but to reassure themselves that they still exist in your world. And when they sense they don't, panic deepens. Because here's what truly terrifies them. You didn't break, You didn't collapse. You didn't beg. You didn't disappear emotionally. You became quiet, but whole. And that silence signals something dangerous to their subconscious. You are healing. Healing means independence. Independence means loss of control, and loss of control triggers fear. Now they're caught between pride and regret, between wanting to reach out and fearing rejection, between missing you and not knowing how to face what they caused. This is when intuition connects. You may suddenly feel them, dream of them, sense their unrest without explanation. That's not imagination. That's unresolved emotional energy seeking closure, because bonds formed deeply don't dissolve quietly. They resurface when ignored. 4. Why they didn't expect this. They didn't expect to miss you because they misunderstood the connection. They thought love was loud. They thought attachment looked dramatic. They thought meaning had to be obvious, but your impact was subtle. You made their life steadier. You made chaos manageable. You made emotional storms survivable. And when you were gone, they lost the emotional mirror that reflected their softer self. Psychology tells us this: we miss what regulated us, not what entertained us. That's why replacements don't work. Distractions fail. Time doesn't erase. Because connection isn't about presence. It's about imprint, and you left one. 5. What this means for you. This story isn't about them returning. It's about you awakening. You didn't lose value because they left. You revealed it. You didn't become unforgettable by trying. You became unforgettable by being authentic. Their panic is not your responsibility. Their regret is not your burden, but their realization. That's confirmation. You were never too much. You were just real in a world addicted to avoidance, and whether they reach out or not, you've already stepped into your power. Because the strongest shift isn't when someone misses you. It's when you no longer need them to. Some people only understand your worth when they can no longer touch your presence, and that's not tragic, it's transformative. If they're panicking now, it's because your absence taught them something your presence never could. But remember this: your healing does not depend on their realization. Your peace does not require their return. You were the lesson. You were the mirror. You were the turning point. And some connections don't come back. They set you free. If this message reached you at the right moment, trust that it wasn't accidental. Subscribe for deep emotional psychology, intuition-led insights, and truths that speak to the soul. Like, comment, and share. Your story might help someone else feel understood today.